A final term requirement in Management 602 Executive Development. Mr. John, a philanthropist leader. I chose Mr. John GOKONGWEI JR as my leader. He was a Chinese-Filipino billionaire businessman and philanthropist, affectionately known as Mr. John. He earned an MBA degree from De La Salle University and attended the Harvard Business School's Advanced Management program. He was included in the list of Heroes of Philanthropy by the Forbes Asia's magazine of 2008. He built a massive empire consisting of businesses in sectors such as food, beverage, clothing, aviation, telecommunications, banking, energy, petrochemicals, and livestock farming. Though he belonged to an affluent trading family, he lost all his wealth after his father's death. Thus, in his teens, he began trading on the streets of Cebu. He launched his first company, which is the Amasya Trading in 1946. Initially, he dealt in second-hand goods imported from the United States. But after his family joined in, he started dealing in beverages and cigarettes too. Eventually, his company launched several businesses including Universal Robina Corporation, Consolidated Food Corporation, JG Summit Holdings, Cebu Pacific Air, Digital Telecommunications Philippines, and Robinsons Retail. He also donated to various education institutes and was the third richest man in the Philippines at the time of his death. The philanthropist died in 2019. His businesses are now managed by his 6 children and his brother, James. We have countless leaders in our country, and I chose Mr. Jan because of his humbleness, and he was an inspiration not only to entrepreneurs but most especially to every individual in our nation who are striving to be successful on their own way. Mr. Jan has pioneering ideas, a strong work ethic, passion, perseverance that inspires people. I was driven with his statement, success can be achieved through hard work, frugality, integrity, responsiveness to change, and most of all, boldness to dream. With this, I became more adaptive with changes in my life. Sharing Mr. Jan's executive development strategies is very vital because the qualities that Mr. Jan possessed made him a successful business tycoon. He is a person who is a risk taker. He was never afraid to take the next steps for his empire to grow. He is an optimistic person. Failures and mistakes were never a barrier for him. He always tries to have a healthy attitude towards failure because he believes it is a part of being an entrepreneur and every entrepreneur must also possess his behavior. And he is also a very humble person. Mr. Jan's leadership strategy. Mr. Jan Gokongwei Jr. remembered as industry leader, a colossus of generosity. Mr. Jan was not afraid to venture into highly competitive new sectors like telecoms or dipping into untested waters like petrochemicals and nurturing them no matter how long it took to achieve profitability. He has the attitude to plan things decades ahead. For Mr. Jan, one of the most important qualities of a strong leader is having the courage of convictions with the innate energy, curiosity, and competitiveness of a visionary leader. Mr. Jan is different from other leaders. He is a leader who dared and backed by the courage of his convictions always did what people said could not be done. Mr. Jan possessed the following strategies. First, he encouraged recognition among employees. Employees want to feel appreciated. They want to feel valued. It instills a sense of commitment and engagement. Mr. Jan honors the hard work of his employees by giving monetary and non-monetary benefits to them, and he also treats his employees as family. Mr. Jan speaks from the heart. He is passionately engaged in being a leader by how he speaks about the company's vision, mission, and goals. He always speaks based on his experiences to inspire people to become better. Mr. Jan is a visionary leader. He sees the bigger picture for his company. For him, the vision for himself and the organization is the purpose that drives him to do what he does every day, even if others are saying that he will not succeed. For him, dreaming big is okay as long as you accompanied it with a positive action and do not be afraid in taking risks. Another is commitment to continued education. Mr. John believes that his success is also a result of his commitment into education, as he finished his master in business administration, and this helped him appreciate the beauty and breadth of business life. Lastly, is the knowledge of delegation and empowerment. As for some leaders, delegating is important because you can't and shouldn't do everything yourself. But for Mr. Jan, delegating with empowerment is more effective. A leader can empower the delegation of tasks by giving greater responsibility because employees feel excited to be entrusted with a position of responsibility and it makes them feel a sense of self-worth. This strategy of Mr. Jan is evident to his son and daughters. Mr. Jan empowered them by giving them a greater responsibility, not for being a big boss or a big leader, but being an employee and experience every job or work in their company so that they will be able to know how their company runs that will help them to take full responsibility in driving their company in the future. Speaking from the heart is the strategy that I think works best for the leader and the people around him. A leader should practice the art of communication, which is speaking from the heart. The secret to consistently having good things coming out from our mouth is to have good things in our heart. Leaders need to see their employees as people on their team who are able to think, solve problems, and create decisions. The strategy of Mr. Jan that is worth recommending to other leaders is his commitment to education and his practice of recognizing employees' efforts. Mr. Jan finished his master's degree and uses it to his advantage. He applied what he learned and that drives his business to success. Another strategy is his practice of recognizing the efforts of his employees. Employees want to feel appreciated. They want to feel valued. It instills a sense of commitment and engagement among them. Being a visionary leader is too common. But Mr. Jan's strategy is different in the sense that he is much ahead of his time and always set out a concrete step to bring his ideas to life. And he made sure that he also brings his people in that direction. He focuses on encouraging people to believe and helping them carry out the vision of the organization. This strategy is worth emulating for me, and this will help me big time in my development as a person. Lastly, I live with this quote from Mr. John GOKONGWEI Jr. Choose to be entrepreneur because then you create value. Choose to be an entrepreneur because the products, services, and jobs you create then become the lifeblood of our nation. But most of all, choose to be an entrepreneur because then you desire a life of adventure, endless challenge, and the opportunity to be your best self. And the greatest lesson that I learned from Mr. John Gokongwei Jr. is being a risk taker. Do not afraid to take risks. That would be all. Thank you.